Yo guys, what is up? Max on Borderlands 4 video, and today we're going to be going over the top 5 pistols in Borderlands 4. Now, real quick before we get into the video, I do want to mention that I think pistols in general are in a pretty weak state right now in Borderlands 4. I think the category of pistols as a whole definitely needs some love. However, this is going to be going over what, in my opinion, the current top 5 best pistols. For this video, we tested all of the pistols in the game, like the legendary pistols, on a very neutral Rafa build using like neutral enhancements, so no guns had an advantage, and we're going to be going over which ones I thought were the best and where to get them. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Apologize for the pink hair, chat made me do that, and with that, let's do this. So we're starting out with some honorable mentions. The first one is to the Songbird pistol. Now, this is a Jacob's pistol that reads Dueling Pistols Legendary Perk, deal 100% damage for 5 seconds after swapping guns. This weapon is currently bugged so that this 100% increased damage after swapping weapons stacks infinitely, and it's really hard to like use this pistol without this bug happening. So technically, this is the best pistol on the entire list because you can do millions of damage in a single shot if you're just constantly like reload swapping it. However, really hard to judge what the pistol's actual damage and actual feel is like. I would imagine even without the bug, it'd probably be in the top 5. But because it's so bugged right now and because it does so much damage with the bug, it's really hard to like properly rank it. So we're putting it as an honorable mention, but this is one of the strongest pistols in the game. However, that strength is from a bug that I think is going to get fixed relatively soon. Our other honorable mention is the Bully pistol. This is a order pistol that has decent fire rate, decent base damage, decent DPS. It's definitely not strong enough to make this top 5 list. However, it's a solid weapon. And with some buffs, I think it could actually be pretty good. Just kind of not good enough quite to make our top 5 list, but I don't think it should be ignored either. All right, so starting out on our number 5 list is the Noisy Cricket pistol. Now, this is a pistol that is a Men in Black reference. It fires a single blast that's going to consume 2 ammo. That blast does a bunch of AoE. It knocks you back. You can use this for like getting around the map with an Alt-Tab technique. However, where this pistol really shines is because of its massive AoE. It can hit all of the crystals on a vial enemy in a single shot, which makes it a really solid and one of the better options for killing vial monsters. However, if you want to actually use this pistol, because it fires basically once, then you have to reload on a Rafa build that uses things like Bullet Buddy Deluxe, where you get infinite ammo for a certain amount of time, this weapon actually becomes not only viable, but quite strong. You can just blast things. To give you an idea, where you can just basically hold down the trigger and slam this guy, and this will just delete vile enemies, does decent boss damage, and it can do mobbing. So on Rafa, with like a niche case scenario, it's actually a pretty cool weapon. Most of the time, this is something that you like wouldn't really be using unless specifically you're taking out for vile enemies, but it has a lot of utility, and so that's why it's going to be at our number 5. For the Cricket pistol, you're going to want to farm Sydney Pointy Legs. This is in the Hungering Plain in the Fade Fields. Coming into our number 4 spot is the Phantom Flame Jacob's pistol. Now, I really like this thing. It is seemingly locked parts, so you can't get it to roll with like any additional things like stickies or in different elements besides fire. However, this pistol comes with the like unique legendary property, Midday. Zooming in acquires lock on targets over time, and firing while zoomed in shoots the entire magazine. This is a very fun weapon to use because you could just aim down sights at enemies and then let it rip, and it just fires very quickly. It doesn't do much boss damage, but it's a really fun like mobbing weapon. Also, once again, it is a very fun weapon on Rafa, especially with Bullet Buddy Deluxe, because you could just shoot a ton. Let me turn up the volume a little bit more. All the fire rate affects how fast the bullets shoot, and then infinite ammo. Pretty fun weapon. But just in like normal use, I think this is a solid all-around weapon. The big thing that it does lack, in my opinion, is like actual boss damage. It's great at taking out trash mobs. That's why it's only at our number 4. The Phantom Flame can be farmed from Pango and Bango. This is in Lopside in Carcadia. It's the area when you first enter Carcadia from the Fade Fields. Just go up the road and it'll be on your right. Coming at our number 3 spot is the King's Gambit pistol. Now, it was a very tough toss-up between the King's Gambit and the Phantom Flame for this spot. However, the King's Gambit can actually do bossing, which is actually quite good. It can be a little bit random and hard to control, but when it works really well. The King's Gambit comes with the legendary perk, Holy Hell. When shot, the thrown gun ricochets projectiles to nearby enemies. Now, it doesn't even need to be this gun. So, for example, this is a pistol that when you reload it, you can shoot at its like moving orb and ricochet those projectiles. However, anything will ricochet off those projectiles. You can shoot a spread launcher. You can shoot a underbarrel shotgun. You can shoot a TK's wave. There's a bunch of different things you can shoot at it. And on Rafa in particular, Rafa gets additional damage multipliers on his indirect projectiles and his ricochets. And so one of the ways that I use this pistol is actually on a build that I made called Ricochet Rafa, where you just aim the Peacebreaker cannons at the King's Gambit orb, and they'll actually just delete bosses for you. It can be a little tricky to line up, but the Peacebreaker cannons do more damage on a ricochet than they do an indirect hit, and through shooting that at the orb, they become like, they get that multiplier again, and it makes them very, very strong. So cool weapon. You can use it totally normally, and it's quite strong. However, using it with indirect projectiles, particularly Rafa's Peacebreaker cannons, you can use them to basically melt bosses. For the King's Gambit, you're going to farm that from Vile Prototype. This is a boss that you fight if you do the story, so most story characters will have this unlocked. It's in the Terminus range in Windspear in the Lictor's Black Site area. At our number 2 spot for pistols is the Queen's Rest. Now, this is a weapon that I honestly didn't love. However, there are some like interesting part rolls that you can get on this thing to make it feel a whole lot better. The Queen's Rest comes with the Royal Armory perk, which fires high-speed rounds and damaging enemies, has a 30% chance to spawn homing sticky projectiles. Now, this can roll with Jacobs, which when you combine the Jacobs ricochets with the chance to spawn homing sticky projectiles with the Jacobs enhancement for like additional ricochets and stuff, this can actually turn into a pretty fun weapon. It can also roll elemental, and because it has stickies, you can stack those up for boss damage. It kind of does a lot, but just out of the box, like if you get a default one, I think this weapon doesn't feel very good. However, you can get like a Jacob's roll on it, and even an element. It starts to do some really, really cool things. It can do bossing, it can do mobbing, and it is a fun weapon. The big downside to this weapon, in my opinion, is its very slow fire rate. So playing a build that has substantial fire rate increases make this thing feel a whole lot better to use. For the Queen's Rest, you farm that from Callus in Carcadia. And lastly, coming in at our number 1 spot is the Seventh Sense pistol. Now, in my opinion, this is just the absolute best feeling pistol to use in the game. It is one of my top 5 favorite legendaries. It comes with proprioception. Hitting enemies spawns orbs that float upward and home in on targets on reload. This is basically just a little bit of extra damage for an already very solid pistol. It being Jacobs, it rolls with a bunch of damage. This thing shoots very fast, hits like a truck, and you can spam it on a ton of different builds. It's my favorite weapon personally to use on like Bleed Vex because it just hits like a truck, stacks bleeds quickly, and there really isn't any going wrong with this weapon. I've seen it roll with Daedalus things. I personally just like to keep it in pistol form. I've seen it roll with Ripper. I personally just enjoy using it like as a Jacob, so not having the full auto. So in my opinion, you're just looking for that as high a base damage as you can get. Not sure if my specific role is all that good, but Seventh Sense is, in my opinion, the best pistol in Borderlands 4. To farm the Seventh Sense, you're going to want to kill Corrupt Dead, Experiment 42, and Experiment 1709. You can access these by doing the Below the Surface side mission in the Terminus District of Dominion. Guys, that is going to do it for our top 5 pistols in Borderlands 4. Let me know what list you'd like to see next, and I'll catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Bye.